Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Maverick here, and we are ready for another episode of Dr. Stone. Now, personally, I am super excited for this episode. Why? Because I do believe that very soon, in fact, it's probably one of the first things that's going to happen this episode, is one of my favorite characters is going to be introduced. And secondly, as we all saw from last episode, we got this entire roadmap of things we got to do before we can get this antibiotic medicine, right? We got, and particularly the things that were most, the things that mostly stood out in terms of everything in there. One would be electricity and another would be iron making. So, and these things are actually, iron making we already saw a little bit of last episode, but here I do believe that we're going to see them working a bit more towards these kind of goals, which is really super cool considering the situation that they are in. Beyond that, we also, we left on the note where Senku was essentially trying to use ramen to win over the hearts and stomachs of the villagers. Let's see how successful he is with that. But mostly excited about the progression part. So, without further ado, let's get into the episode. Alrighty, beginning in 3, 2, 1, and play. Aw, yeah! Oh, sorry, actually steel making, not just iron making. You know, a girl who can blow? Not saying anything. Not saying anything. Really though, ramen is, well, I guess, yeah, the noodles are half of that. None. Ah, quit being such an ass. She's literally eating ramen. Cola. Aw, they didn't actually animate this scene. Okay, I'm a little bit disappointed. Come on, that was... They actually had a really cool response to this in the manga. Look at his face. Oh man. Love him. Okay. Hold that thought. Let me skip this real quick. I'll see you guys in a second. The light of science. again. Mister. I mean, that should be obvious to, like, everybody. But, anyways. Who's the devil now? Wait, that's all they were gonna. Come on! There's a lot more exposition here. Oh man, don't do this to me. Well, at least I remember there was a lot more exposition there. Okay, there's a... Okay. Look at the machine gun that Senku had. A rifle. He's a pragmatist, and I can respect that. Don't worry, everybody has a price. Electricity. Now that was pretty much my reaction when I was reading this for the first time in the manga. I was like, what? You're literally still in the Stone Age and you want to make electricity generators? But it, you know, it actually makes sense. He's got iron, he's got magnets. Okay, they better not mess this part up. Then this guy just give you the was it that Gaston? So that kind of vibe. A basic magician trick. And Senku's just like, this guy is useful. Like I said, they better not mess this next part up in terms of the animation. Okay, okay, that was decent. That was decent. I was like, if they skip on the animation for this part, I'm gonna be so pissed. Badass Kuhaku. Okay, that's a little bit dramatic. Like, come on. Okay. In a manga, I thought he actually got his fingers caught within it. That would have hurt. Like, seriously, can you guys believe it? Creating an electrical generator in the Stone Age. If only. And these two are like, okay, sign me up! And of course, here we're getting the title of the episode. I mean, technically we defeated the night with lamps as well. But I digress. In your face, skin! Yeah! And onwards. I'll see you guys after the ending. And with that amazing ending scene, we have the conclusion of episode 9. Now, granted, it was taken nearly scene by scene from the manga, which had the same frames as well, but of course, in anime form, you can get a better sense of the, epicness of finally lighting a light bulb here in the Stone Age world. And really, it actually ties back into some of the earlier complaints I had this episode, where the scene where Kohaku was first warning that Ginro and Kinro that there was an enemy and that they needed to take care of the situation. Well, honestly, the manga didn't really divert too many frames to it, as well, too many panels to it, but still, this is an animation, right? They have lots of different means to make it much more epic, and even just a side-by-side comparison between a manga and an anime, they really cut corners there in animating that scene. It was like, basically, there's an enemy, whoosh, and then immediately we get to the scene where they are already surrounding him. I feel like, because that scene was actually really cool, with their poses and whatnot, so I wish that they could have, maybe emphasized this a little bit more. And a little bit later on down the line, where Kohaku was, getting the gold tip sphere and then guiding the lightning down onto the iron rod, that one was much more acceptable for me. They actually took care to animate, the entire process, which again is super hella cool. You got Kohaku, this super talented fighter, doing all sorts of crazy acrobatics in the air and whatnot. And of course, the ending poses are really sweet as well. They should have held that pose a little bit longer. But yeah, that part was much more acceptable to me. And really, the whole thing, you could argue and say, but the manga didn't really have much to say about this, so why am I bringing this complaint up right now, right? But the thing to understand here is that anime and manga are two very different media forms. They each have their strengths and weaknesses. An anime adaptation is never going to be as detailed as its original manga or light novel work, right? Some very in-depth, detailed explanations, there's simply not enough time, or it's not the correct media to try to adapt into anime. So of course, they would cut some stuff out. And that's true for nearly all anime adaptations in general. Now, however, anime can also have its own strengths as well, and so, for instance, some scenes which might be a little bit more simplistic within the within the manga, the anime does have the creative freedom to try and expand on this a little bit and make us look at it and say, wow, that is cool, that is awesome, right? And I think that's what we all would really, well, at least what I really want out of anime adaptations, right? You're already not going to be able to compete on a content level, because by definition you would, or just due to, you know, realistic considerations, you would have less content. So the way that you win is by drawing better animations, drawing more epic stuff. Now, granted, Dr. Stone is not entirely an action anime, but still, they could have made that a little bit more interesting as well. But yeah, enough about that part. That was kind of a tangent, but I just wanted to express, because like I said, I really like this manga, actually. It's one of my favorites of recent times, so I really want the anime adaptation to be good as well. And so far, there has always been some, you know, some misgivings that I have for the anime, and this episode was no different. Now, okay, and in terms of actually what happened here. So first of all, we got Gin, right? Again, one of my favorite characters from this series. Yeah, he's the ultimate pragmatist, really realistic and whatnot, but he has his own honor, he has his own ideals as well. And I'm not gonna spoil too much, but we can just continue on and look forward to this, right? So obviously he's you know, he's kind of not really taking a side right now, but I feel like he's also his perspective is very, very important from a more meta sort of way, because he also, in a way, represents us as viewers, as the audience as well. At least that's what I got when I was reading through the manga, right? Gin, because he is from the modern world, and he has, you know, he's actually smart, right? He's not like Taiju or something who is more of a, you know, full muscle blockhead. Gin, on the other hand, because he understands science to a certain extent, at least maybe a little bit better than the average person, he's able to know just exactly how crazy and how wacky the things that Senku is saying and doing actually are. Such as in this case, where, again, this is the Stone Age. We're literally in the Stone Age here, and he's trying to make an electric generator, right? Like, that is crazy, and Gen's reactions represent what I felt when I first was reading through this and through the manga. I was like, "Are you serious, Senku?" Right? It's that same kind of feeling. So he also represents this in a big way, and that's why we can feel for him and we can feel a connection towards Gen. Like, what is this crazy sub doing, right? So yeah, and again, his character itself is very fun as well. You guys can probably guess from his character design that he's more of the advisor type, if you will. If this was like an anime set in, I don't know, like in like, say, the 10th century or the 5th century or something like that, he would be one of those court advisors, whatnot, someone who's really, you know, the strategic or tactical geniuses of the world. So, anyways, just again, glad that Gen is finally introduced, and don't worry, he is definitely here to stay. Beyond that, I guess we should also talk a little bit about the very end, right? In terms of the light bulb. Well, at least to me, that's a little bit more fun to discuss. So I did like how they portrayed this entire scene, not just in, you know, the actual scene itself, but also in regards to the Edison incandescent light bulb, right? So Thomas Edison, now, depending on how well versed you are in terms of Thomas Edison as a person, you might either go with the traditional, you know, what was taught to us in school, like in education, like Thomas Edison was a great inventor, invented lots of things, including the electric light bulb and whatnot. Or if you have a more, I don't know, a more realistic, how should I say, or a more how should I say it? Basically what I'm trying to say is that Thomas Edison is actually sort of a controversial character, right? The older you are, the more you learn about him, the more you realize that he's not really all that great of a person. Well, I guess, you know, again, that's as a person, right? As an inventor, as a entrepreneur, of course he has his brilliance. And he's still responsible for the eventual proliferation of a lot of different things. It's just that he's maybe not this altruistic, well, you know, great inventor that we were taught in school. But anyways, like for instance, the incandescent light bulb, right? So Thomas Edison, contrary to what we were taught in school, did not invent the electric light bulb. It was invented long before he had anything to do with it. However, Thomas Edison did indeed refine the process and find out a different way of making it more efficient. That's one thing. And second, and perhaps even more importantly, how to commercialize it, how to make it something that can be used for everyday life and, you know, in companies and industrial use and so on and so forth, right? And so that is why we mostly credit Thomas Edison with creating the light bulb. See, even in this anime, one thing I really like is that they didn't specifically say that he was the inventor of the light bulb. It was more like he, you know, this is the Edison light bulb, right? His take on the design of the light bulb. So I give them props for actually using this kind of language here. But of course, again, his biggest contribution to this would probably be how he eventually got it to be commercialized, so it gained widespread use, and also, you know, later on with actually building up electric companies to provide the electricity needed for this. Although that is a whole nother controversial topic in of itself, you know, paying for electricity and whatnot. But that's not something that I'm going to get into here. But if you guys are interested, do read up in regards to Thomas Edison. He's quite the interesting character, and you realize that how different he is than what he's portrayed during our early education. You know, before college, if you will. So yeah, basically that's pretty much all I have to say about this episode. Again, things are speeding along, moving along. I can't wait until this part is also over, you know, before Senku actually even got into the village. And after that, again, you know, if again, this series, it's sort of like this, right? At the beginning, you know, we're sort of trudging along, going up. And then at a certain point, the things that he's doing is just going to be like, right? It's literally going to rocket off. So, again, we're seeing some of that here with his jumps and leaps in technology level. And this is going to be a recurring theme. So, stay tuned, guys. There's just going to be more of this awesomeness to come. So, yeah, there we go. That was Dr. Stone episode 9. I will see you guys next week as well. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.